Picture this. You find a clean Hyundai Tucson on Facebook Marketplace. One careful owner, full service history, priced just low enough to feel like a win. You buy it, drive it home, and 3 months later, you're standing in a mechanic's waiting room being told your transmission needs a full replacement. The guy behind the counter says it like he's reading the weather. You say nothing. You stare at the fish tank in the corner and wonder if the fish know how lucky they are. That story is real. It happened to Tucson buyers in specific years over and over again for specific and entirely predictable reasons. And the worst part is that those buyers could have avoided it completely if they'd known which years to walk away from. Some Tucson years will run to 200,000 miles on nothing but oil changes and optimism. Others will introduce you to repair costs that make you question your relationship with cars, with Hyundai, and possibly with yourself. The difference is the model year, and that's exactly what we're getting into today. Stay to the end, because the #1 most reliable Tucson year is not the one most buyers expect, and knowing it could save you a serious amount of money, starting with the 5 years to research very carefully before you hand over a single penny. The 2010 Tucson launched the second generation, and Hyundai was clearly excited about it. New platform, new engines, sharper styling. What they were less excited to talk about, and what owners discovered the hard way, was the oil consumption problem hiding inside the 2.4-liter four-cylinder. Here's how it played out for a lot of 2010 owners. They'd buy the car, get the first service, drive normally for a few thousand miles, and then notice the oil warning light flickering on earlier than it should. Not because of a leak, not because they'd missed a change. The engine was simply burning through oil at a rate that Hyundai never officially described as normal, even though it was apparently normal enough to affect a very large number of 2010 Tucsons. According to owner reports and reliability sources, the 2010 model year accumulated an above-average complaint volume for a compact SUV, with particular concentration in the powertrain. The 6-speed automatic paired with the base 2.0-liter also generated reports of rough shifting and hesitation, the kind of behavior that starts as a mild annoyance and ends as a workshop bill. The 2010 is now well over a decade old. Whatever oil consumption issues were present when these cars were new have had years to develop into something more serious. If you're looking at a 2010, budget for a compression test and an oil consumption check before you commit. And if the seller seems offended by that request, that's useful information too. You might be wondering why 2011 has its own entry when it shares so many problems with 2010. Fair question. The answer is that 2011 is actually more frustrating, not less, because it's the year that confirmed the problems were systematic rather than a first-year fluke. By 2011, Hyundai had enough feedback from 2010 owners to know what was happening with the 2.4-liter engine. And yet, the oil consumption issue continued without meaningful resolution. That's not incompetence. Hyundai makes plenty of excellent vehicles, but it is a pattern worth understanding before you hand someone money for one of these cars. What makes 2011 stand out in the complaint data is the number of reports from owners who did everything right. Full service history, oil changed on schedule, no abuse, no track days, no towing, and their engines still develop premature wear. That shifts the conversation from maintenance advice to manufacturing quality, and it's the reason reliability sources continue to flag 2011 as a year requiring extra scrutiny. There's also a recurring HVAC complaint in 2011 models, blower motor failures, refrigerant issues, that on its own is a manageable inconvenience and in combination with potential engine concerns becomes part of an expensive repair picture. A car that needs an engine check and an air conditioning fix at the same time has a way of making your wallet feel very small. Proceed carefully with 2011. By 2013, you'd be forgiven for thinking the worst of the second generation was behind it. The platform was established, the teething problems should have been sorted, and Hyundai had a few years of real-world feedback to work with. For most of the 2013 Tucson, that logic holds. And then you look at the transmission. The 6-speed automatic in 2013 models generated a volume of complaints that stands out even within a generation that had some transmission grumbles throughout. Owners describe shuddering during low-speed acceleration, hesitation on highway merges, and in the more serious cases, complete failure requiring full replacement. A transmission replacement on a compact SUV will typically run you into 4 figures, and on a vehicle at today's used prices, that figure can rival or exceed what you paid. There's a particular kind of cruelty to a 2013 Tucson failure because these cars look so reasonable on the used market. They're priced accessibly, they present well, they've got a few years of wear behind them that makes them feel broken in, and some of them are absolutely fine. but enough of them aren't that the complaint data is hard to ignore. The electrical gremlins in 2013 are worth mentioning too. Infotainment faults, power window regulator failures, and some charging system complaints that suggest broader electrical concerns. None of these are catastrophic individually, but when you're chasing an electrical fault on a 10-year-old car, time and diagnostic costs have a way of adding up before you've even ordered a single part. If 2013 is calling to you, let the pre-purchase inspection answer first. In 2016, Hyundai launched the third-generation Tucson. New design, new technology, new transmission. That last one is where the story takes a turn. The 7-speed dual-clutch automatic, DCT, fitted to many 2016 Tucsons, became one of the most complained about transmissions in the compact SUV segment. If you've never experienced the misbehaving DCT, allow me to describe the experience. You're pulling out of a junction slowly. The transmission shudders. The car lurches. You briefly wonder if you've been rear-ended. You haven't. That's just the gearbox deciding it doesn't fully understand what you're asking it to do. On a motorway merge, the hesitation feels less comedic and considerably more dangerous. Several NHTSA complaints from 2016 Tucson owners describe exactly this scenario: unexpected power loss or hesitation at the precise moment where smooth, predictable acceleration is not optional. Hyundai issued a technical service bulletin and recommended software updates and fluid changes. Many owners report that these fixes offered temporary relief at best. Some report no improvement at all. The 2016 is also the first year of a new generation, which means it carried the usual assortment of first-year concerns beyond the transmission: sunroof rattles, water intrusion in some examples, early infotainment issues. These are irritations rather than disasters, but combined with a powertrain problem that Hyundai never fully resolved in service, 2016 earns its place near the top of this list with considerable ease. Here's the one that surprises people. The 2017 Tucson is the year to research most carefully of all, and the reason it catches buyers off guard is that it looks, on the surface, like the sensible choice. Not a launch year, not brand new to the generation. Surely Hyundai had a year to iron things out, and in some ways, they had, just not the ways that matter most. The dual-clutch transmission problems from 2016 carried into 2017 without resolution. That alone would be enough to flag it. But 2017 added something more serious to the picture. There are documented engine failures in 2017 Tucson models connected to a manufacturing defect involving debris contamination that could restrict oil flow and cause premature bearing failure. This is not a story about owners who skipped oil changes. It's a story about engines that left the factory with a fault that only reveals itself later, sometimes well outside warranty coverage. Think about the timing on that. You buy a 2017 Tucson maybe a year or two after it came off its original lease. It drives fine. It looks fine. You do everything right. And then, one morning, it doesn't. And the extended warranty ran out 6 months ago. That specific sequence of events appears in Tucson owner forums with enough regularity that it stopped being a coincidence a long time ago. According to NHTSA complaint volumes and reliability aggregators, 2017 accumulated some of the highest complaint totals of any recent Tucson model year. The combination of an unresolved transmission issue and a genuine engine failure risk on a vehicle that now sits squarely in the age bracket where warranty coverage is gone and repair costs hit hardest is what earns 2017 the top spot on this list. Check the VIN at nhtsa.gov before you consider any used Tucson. But for 2017 specifically, a thorough pre-purchase inspection from a Hyundai familiar mechanic is not optional. It's the price of admission. Now let's talk about the Tucsons that vindicate every buyer who looked past the horror stories and decided to give Hyundai a chance. These are the years where the engineering was right, the platform was mature, or both, and there are more of them than the avoid list might suggest. The 2008 Tucson is the final year of the first generation, and it's earned a quiet reputation among owners who value reliability over modernity. By 2008, the first generation Tucson had been on the road long enough for Hyundai to understand it thoroughly, and that understanding shows in the reliability record. There's a mechanic somewhere who will tell you, if you ask him the right way, that the vehicles he trusts most are not the newest ones. They're the ones where the engineers have had time to find the problems and fix them before the platform retires. The 2008 Tucson is exactly that vehicle. The 2.0 and 2.7-liter engines are not exciting, but they are proven, simple, and well supported by independent mechanics who've been working on them for years. Owner reports consistently describe 2008 Tucsons that have passed 150,000 miles without major intervention. No transmission drama, no oil consumption crises, no mystery electrical faults. Just a compact SUV doing what a compact SUV is supposed to do. If you need reliable transport and the infotainment system not having Apple CarPlay is something you can forgive, a well-maintained 2008 remains one of the most honest value propositions in the entire Tucson lineup. The 2015 Tucson occupies a very specific sweet spot in Hyundai's history, late enough in the second generation to have benefited from several years of fixes and running changes, and 1 year before the dual-clutch disaster arrived to ruin everyone's day. That timing is not nothing. By 2015, the oil consumption complaints that defined the early second generation had been substantially reduced through engine calibration updates and revised manufacturing tolerances. Owners who'd been burned by 2010 and 2011 and stuck with the brand found that their later second-gen cars ran noticeably better. The 2015 is the beneficiary of all that hard-won improvement, packaged in a model year that also avoids everything that went wrong in 2016. It's a conventional 6-speed automatic, assorted 2.4-liter engine, and a platform that Hyundai understood inside and out by the time these cars left the factory. Reliability sources and owner reports back this up with lower complaint volumes than the early second-generation years. If you want a dependable Tucson at a genuinely accessible price point, and you can live without the flashier features of the third generation, 2015 is one of the cleanest used buys in the whole model's history. The 2019 Tucson is the year Hyundai quietly fixed what was broken and didn't make nearly enough noise about it. The dual-clutch transmission, the source of so much misery in 2016 and 2017, was dropped in favor of a conventional 6-speed automatic. Just like that. No fanfare, no press release about lessons learned. The problematic gearbox was simply gone. The effect on the reliability picture was immediate and measurable. According to owner reports and reliability aggregators, 2019 Tucsons show a meaningful drop in powertrain complaints compared to the DCT years. Owners who'd been burned by earlier third-generation models and cautiously returned to the brand found that the 2019 drove the way a compact SUV is supposed to drive, smoothly, predictably, without drama. There's a particular satisfaction in a 2019 Tucson ownership story, because it represents Hyundai making the right call after making the wrong one. They put a flawed transmission in the car, the market told them clearly it was flawed, and they removed it. That's not exciting reading, but it's reassuring ownership. The 2019 is a refined version of a platform that had found its feet, and high-mileage examples are increasingly common as a result. This is a car that rewards proper maintenance with genuine longevity. The fourth-generation Tucson arrived in 2021 with the kind of dramatic exterior redesign that makes you do a double-take in a car park. Bold lines, a distinctive front end, a cabin that felt like a genuine step up from the outgoing model. And unlike some of the generation launches earlier in this video, it arrived without an obvious powertrain catastrophe waiting to surface 6 months after the warranty expired. That sounds like a low bar, but given the 2016 and 2010 histories, it's actually worth celebrating. The 2021 uses an 8-speed automatic paired with updated 4-cylinder engines, and the powertrain complaint profile is significantly cleaner than either of those launch years. Owner reports highlight smooth transmission behavior and consistent engine performance. Hyundai had clearly learned something from the DCT episode, specifically that launching a new generation with an unproven gearbox is a gift that keeps costing you. There are some first-year infotainment complaints in 2021 models and a handful of software issues that require dealer visits. These are, in the grand scheme of things, inconveniences rather than disasters. Software gets updated, infotainment panels get replaced under warranty. These are not the same category of problem as an engine that quietly destroys itself from the inside. For a launch year, 2021 is about as clean an entry as Tucson buyers have seen in a long time. Here's the answer that surprises people. The most reliable Tucson isn't a vintage classic, a hidden gem, or a discontinued limited edition. It's the newest one you can afford, specifically 2022 and later. And the reason this surprises buyers is that there's a deeply held belief that newer cars mean more problems, more complexity, more software, more things to go wrong. For a lot of manufacturers, in a lot of years, that belief is justified. For the current Tucson, the data says otherwise. According to reliability sources and owner reports, 2022 and newer fourth-generation Tucsons show lower complaint volumes than any previous generation at a comparable point in its production run. Recall activity has focused on minor items, not the kind of powertrain-affecting crises that defined 2016 and 2017. The 8-speed automatic continues to perform reliably. The handful of software and minor mechanical issues from the 2021 launch year have been addressed through running changes. These are cars that so far are doing what they're supposed to do. There's a mechanic saying that the best time to buy a new model is in its second or third year, once the factory bugs are sorted, but before the early examples start accumulating age-related wear. By that logic, 2022 is close to ideal for the 4th generation Tucson. First-year issues resolved, still young enough to have plenty of useful life ahead, and available with remaining manufacturer warranty on lower mileage examples. The hybrid and plug-in hybrid variants introduced in this generation are also showing encouraging early reliability records, which is genuinely good news, because electrified powertrains in their first years can go either way, and the Tucson hybrids appear to have landed on the right side of that line. If there's one thing the Tucson's history teaches you, it's that Hyundai is capable of both the 2017 and the 2022. The same company built both of those cars. The difference is not the badge, it's the year, the powertrain decisions made during development, and the manufacturing quality in that particular production run. 2022 and newer represents Hyundai at their current best, and right now, that's a genuinely good place to be. The Tucson's reliability history is a story about patterns, and once you can see the patterns, the used car market becomes a lot less mysterious. The years that deserve the most caution, 2017, 2016, 2013, 2011, and 2010, all carry specific documented problems that trace back to identifiable engineering and manufacturing decisions. They are not simply old cars showing their age, they are cars with specific failure modes that buyers continue to encounter and continue to pay for. The years that demonstrate what the Tucson can be, 2022 and newer, 2021, 2019, 2015, and 2008, share the quality of having launched or matured without a fundamental powertrain problem waiting in the wings. Some of them are great because they're new and refined. Others are great because they're old and proven. All of them reward proper maintenance with the kind of long-term reliability that makes compact SUV ownership the sensible, undramatic experience it's supposed to be. That said, model year is the start of the conversation, not the end of it. A 2017 with complete service records, a recent independent engine inspection, and a clean NHTSA recall history is a different vehicle from a 2017 with 2 previous owners, a gap in the logbook, and a seller who's suddenly hard to reach after you mention a pre-purchase inspection. Individual condition always matters. Use the model year data to know which questions to ask and where to point your mechanic, not to make a decision before you've seen the car. Run every VIN through nhtsa.gov before you buy. Get that pre-purchase inspection. And if a seller tells you the car doesn't need one because it's been well looked after, smile politely, take their number, and call a mechanic anyway. The fish in the dealership waiting room will thank you.